Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our live health show, Your Health, coming to you, mashallah, again, live from the Ikra studios here in Bradford, West Yorkshire. Before the break, we were discussing the subject of hijama. And we mentioned that hijama is an established sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That Rasul Kareem sallam has done this and recommended it to his ummah as well, specifically for pain. I was mentioning that, who can have cupping therapy done and who can't have it done? When should it be done? And when should you avoid it? So let's take it in that order. First of all, what days should cupping therapy done? The hadith sharif says to us, and it's a hadith is sahih, that whoever does hijama on the 17, 19 and 21 of the lunar month, then great and major illnesses will not befall him. He will not be afflicted by these illnesses. So the real days of the month are 17, 19, 21. Okay, today is the 22nd of Zil Qaida. So yes, Thursday was a sunnah day for hijama cupping therapy. Why on these days? What tends to happen in the blood is that, as the moon rises, it's kind of the newborn is a newer moon is born, it kind of rises to the 14th and then it starts to wane. So right in the middle, 17, 19, 21 of this cycle, this lunar cycle, that's the time where the blood is actually josh mar raha hai, it's actually boiling. At the beginning of because the way the moon affects the tides, it affects human blood as well. In fact, the moon it affects a lot of things. Did you know that on the 14th and 15th, the time of the full moon, there's major crime incidents in these big cities like New York and London, and there's a correlation between the full moon and crime incidents. This is this has been documented. Full moon makes people kind of it increases the blood becomes very hot and people are more the crimes of passion, if you want to call it that. But the link is established. When the moon is high, people the crime rates rise, and you can Google that. Anyway, 17, 19, 21, they're the days where cupping therapy is the best, and the reason for that is because the moon, the blood is boiling, and that's the time where the sunnah hijama should be. So this is what is meant by the sunnah days. If you want hijama, then wait for the sunnah days, 17, 19, 21. In fact, this time around, the days for Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. Now, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, you'd say, how can be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday? It should be 17, 19, 21. So it should be Monday, Wednesday and Friday. How can it be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday? The reason for that is that, it comes back to the moon. Some people see the moon locally, some people see it in Saudi, so then there's a mixture of days. And this time, that was exactly what happened. It was Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, a mixture of Saudi days, Arabian days, on local sighting. But nonetheless, the best days for cupping are Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. These are the best days. And the days you should avoid are Wednesdays. Wednesdays, you should not do cupping therapy at all. Never. If you're on the couch, get up and go away. Wednesday is a dangerous day. Some ulama have said that the affliction that befell Hazrat Ayyub ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salatu wasalam was on a Wednesday. Wednesday is a dangerous day. In fact, there's a hadith which mentions this, that if anything will go wrong on cupping, by cupping, it'll be on Wednesday. So Wednesday must be, यानी आदमी को परहेज करना चाहिए on Wednesday. बुध के दिन जो है उस दिन के अंदर हिजामा नहीं करना चाहिए. If you have any questions, any questions at all about hijama therapy, please feel free to call in. If you can advise, we can advise you, inshallah, if we have the answer. So any queries about hijama cupping therapy, please feel free to call in with a short question, and we will answer your question. किसी को कोई सवाल हो हिजामा के बारे में, कपिंग के बारे में, तो ज़रूर आप फ़ोन करें इंशाल्लाह, और हम आपको इसका जवाब ज़रूर हम आपको देंगे इंशाल्लाह. हमारा नंबर है 01274 214 299 214 299 और कोड ब्रैडफोर्ड का 01274 214 299. ज़रूर फ़ोन कॉल कीजिएगा इंशाल्लाह, हम विल एड्रेस एनी क्वेरीज. हाँ, तो भूत के दिन कपिंग नहीं करना चाहिए, एक बात। हाँ, तो जब when a person goes for cupping therapy, what tends to happen first of all is that the person gives you a medical questionnaire. You fill the medical questionnaire, and the reason for the medical questionnaire is for the practitioner to see if you have any of the contraindications. So things like if you have cancer which is metastasized, you can't have cupping. अगर कैंसर जो है वो फैल गई हो तो cupping नहीं करना चाहिए। अगर कोई औरत हामिला है तो उसको भी हिजामा नहीं करना चाहिए। If someone's expecting second, third trimester, even the first, to be honest with you, they shouldn't have cupping therapy done because they can miscarry. And the third thing is that if someone has very low hemoglobin levels or pernicious anemia, or the serum ferritin levels are low, all to do with iron, they shouldn't have cupping therapy done. And another thing, another contraindication is if a person is feeling kind of faint already, if they have a low blood pressure. I mentioned last week, normal blood pressure for males is between 100, systolic 100 to 140, and diastolic between 70 till about 90 for males. So if it's below that, if it's below 70, 60, 65 even, then you have low blood pressure. You will faint. And that's what, let me explain to you. Many people think that, someone's fainted and they've got jinns. In my opinion, that isn't the case at all. People faint because when you're having hijama done, especially the sunnah points, explain in a moment what sunnah points are actually. When you're having hijama and you do it on the sunnah points, then them sunnah points, and there's 3 to be honest with you, in the back between the shoulder blades, back of your cervical 7, C7, and between your scapulars, and you take blood from the area out, okay, then what happens is that is toxic blood. That blood is very toxic. It contains heavy metals, homocysteine, other things that your body, mercury, things you can't excrete, aluminium, cadmium, aluminum, things your body can't excrete. When you do cupping, that's what you're taking out. So what happens in your body is your body normally excretes anything that it can't handle. But certain things, especially heavy metals, your body can't excrete. No, it can't excrete it via the excretory pathways, any via stool or urine or even perspiration. So it'll keep it in the body. But the body is very clever. So what it will do, these things which are potentially harmful, it'll keep it on the outer tissues in the capillaries. And these areas are where the blood flow is very minimal. So here, right between your on your cervical 7 and between your scapula. So these are the sunnah points. And if a person's healthy, has no complaints, then this is where he should do cupping prophylactically to avoid becoming ill. And that's what the hadith says, that a person who has cupping on the 17, 19, 21, he will not suffer and he will not be afflicted by the major illnesses. So these are the points. So if you put your head down, then right where your head kind of, if you have a thin neck, a swan neck, as I call it, you should feel the cervical 7 becoming prominent. So where you feel that bone on the back of your neck, that's the first sunnah point. And then between your scapula, so if you put your left arm behind your back and you see that protuberance on the left hand side, so the cup should be next to that. And then the same with the right, the cup should be next to that. So these, when you take the blood from these areas out, the liver is the biggest detox organ in the body. So when you're taking the blood out, of course the liver is going to become lightened. You're going to feel light because now that link between toxicity the liver has, energetic link, and even a physical one, that doesn't exist because the blood's been taken out. So what tends to happen in practice is when you have hijama done, you can feel, especially if you're sitting on a chair and doing it, this is why it's important to do it on a couch by professionals who are first aid qualified, who know how to deal with anaphylactic reactions, who know how to deal with hypotension, etc., etc. So many things can happen. Who maybe have a defib in their clinic as well. As many things can potentially happen. They can happen anywhere. I'm not saying cupping hijama will happen during that time, but people should be prepared. So when you take this blood from them areas out, you will feel faint. If you're on a chair, you will feel faint, and then you may pass out. That's all there is. All that's happening is that your body has released too much toxicity too quickly, and you're in a vertical position, the blood flow is impacted, so you will faint. That won't happen or shouldn't happen, or very less it happens when you're on a horizontal position and you're having hijama done. You will not hopefully faint. मैं यही कह रहा था कि बाद लोग कहते हैं कि देखें जब हिजामा होता है और आदमी बेहोश हो जाते हैं या गुनूदगी हो जाती है तो गोए कि आदमी पर जिन है या आदमी पर असरात हैं, तो ये इसकी मेडिकल रीज़न भी है। मेडिकल रीज़न यही है कि जब आदमी हिजामा करवाता है तो जिस्म के अंदर जितने जितने तकलीफ़ दह आज़ा होते हैं, यानी ज़र्रात होते हैं, हैवी मेटल्स हो गए, कैडमियम, लेड, मर्करी, एल्युमिनियम, इस तरह की चीज़ें जो होती हैं, तो ये जो चीज़ें हैं जिस्म अपने पखाने के ज़रिए या यानी पर्सपिरेशन के ज़रिए, पसीने के ज़रिए या पेशाब के ज़रिए इन चीज़ों को नहीं निकल पाता। यानी जितने भी खुदा दाद एक्सक्रीटरी ऑर्गन्स हैं जिन जिस्म के अंदर जो अल्लाह ने हमें दी है, यानी हमारा पेशाब के ज़रिए या पखाने के ज़रिए या पसीने के ज़रिए जो गंद निकलता है, ये जो हैवी मेटल्स हैं ये चीज़ें नहीं निकल पाती, वो जिस्म के अंदर ही रहती हैं। तो इनका निकालने का वाहिद तरीका, बल्कि दो तरीके हैं, एक है डीप टिश्यू चिलेशन थेरेपी जो यहाँ इंग्लैंड के अंदर नहीं होता, यानी हाँ, और दूसरा है हिजामा। शायद यही वजह होगी कि यानी फरिश्ते ने कहा कि रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम को कि आप अपने उम्मत को हुक्म फरमाएं हिजामा का, क्योंकि आजकल जो हालात हैं घर के बाद जो ट्रैफिक होती है वहाँ से जो फ्यूम के जो बाई प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं हमारे, उनके ज़र्रात फेफड़ों के अंदर चले जाते हैं, जिस्म के अंदर चले जाते हैं, खून के अंदर चले जाते हैं, और कितना अल्जाइमर्स, डिमेंशिया और अस्थमा, ये यानी ये जो आजकल तो आम हो गए हैं। मैं कल पढ़ रहा था कि सन 1900 के अंदर कैंसर सिर्फ 100 में से 2 आदमी को कैंसर होने का इम्कान था। आजकल तो क्या हर 2 में से 1 को कैंसर होने का इम्कान है। तो यानी आजकल बहुत हालात ख़राब हैं सेहत के लिहाज से। तो हिजामा जो है बहुत ही अच्छा इलाज है और ये सुन्नत है नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का। और मैं यही कह रहा था कि जब आदमी को ये बेहोशी हो या एक नुदगी हो तो ये इस वास्ते होती है कि बहुत ज़्यादा जो हैवी मेटल्स हैं और जो ज़र्रात आज़ा हैं वो चीज़ निकल गई हैं। तो आदमी ज़ाहिर बात है आदमी को एक किस्म के यानी कि बेहोश की होने का इम्कान है। So this is the reason why some people faint. But having said that, coping, hijama, there's a ayat of the Quran, a hadith says, "Ash-shaytanu yajri min al-insan majra dam." The shaitan runs in the blood, and we know he affects a person. So sometimes when you're doing coping therapy, a person who is afflicted with possession, then he can have side effects. And the side effects of if a person is possessed, the sign for that is very easy. A person will speak in a guttural voice, so his voice will change. When a person speaks in a guttural voice, it's really scary. A person speaking like me and suddenly his voice changes to a deep voice. That deep voice is one sign of possession. And if someone says they're possessed, then you mustn't say to them that you're not possessed, because that aggravates apparently the person who's possessed. Second sign is a person who's possessed, his kind of facial features can be distorted. So sometimes the nose moves to the left side. And the third thing is that their eyes kind of become very, very kind of big. And I'm not making this up, I've experienced this firsthand. And in fact, I did a research project just because we didn't know how to deal with this in our clinic. And these are the signs. This is what many of our ulamas, our Mufti Siraj Sahib, who has a show on this channel as well, I actually interviewed him, and I interviewed some what do you call them guys, the priests as well, Roman Catholic priests and Anglican priests, and basically the same thing. If someone's possessed, you see these things, their facial features change, they're distorted, they speak in a guttural voice, and thirdly, their eyes get really, really big. They look at you. I remember one lady who came, la ilaha illallah, her eyes became so big, like that big. So that can happen, but it's thankfully very, very rare. In short, hijama is amazing and it's very, very good for the following things. Hijama is very good for infertility. Hijama therapy is amazing for infertility. We have people who come to our clinic, alhamdulillah, and we have therapists who do hijama. We have ladies and we have males. And, I've forgotten how many times a lady will come for infertility treatment. The lady will do the hijama on her. Maybe your husband will come. The therapist, the male, will do it for the male. And then about 13, 14 months later, they'll come again for some other reason. Maybe to consult with myself. And they'll have a small baby. And I remember many, many times they said, look, we came here, mashallah. In fact, just a few days ago, we had a lady. And she conceived by the grace of Allah via cupping hijama therapy. So it's very good for infertility. And second thing hijama is very good for is very good for migraine pains. So all you migraine sufferers out there, and migraine affects ladies more than men. And don't be confused with cluster headaches, okay? Not cluster headaches. I'm on about migraine headaches. If you have migraine headaches with neurological symptoms, then you owe it to yourself to go and book yourself a hijama session, because it's amazing. And this is how it works. Let's say a lady has migraine about 3 times a week, every week. When they do hijama the first time, they will only get the headache once on that month, and it'll normally be in the last week. They come for the second session, mashallah, and then the third session after 4 weeks. If you do hijama, you should do it every 4 weeks on the sunnah days. After 3 sessions, what will tend to happen is that you will not have the migraines, and you probably get them 1-2 a year. So hijama is very good for migraines and very good for infertility. More than that, any kind of pain, if it's acute pain, hijama can help. You know, your physiologist, your physiotherapists, a lot of physios, if they do hijama, many of them, many don't, but it's a really, really good therapy for physiotherapists to do who already deal with muscular complaints. If they were to get trained in hijama, then mashallah, they would really, really help. It's also good for sleeping issues. People who can't sleep, hijama therapy can help with that. There's 7 different mechanisms of how hijama works. You know, there's no one single reason, but there's 7 reasons or 7 modes of efficacy for hijama. माशाल्लाह, मैं यही कह रहा था कि ये जो हिजामा है ये बहुत ही अच्छा इलाज है। अगर किसी के यहाँ औलाद नहीं हो रही हो तो उनके लिए इंशाअल्लाह अगर अल्लाह ताला का हुक्म हो तो इनके लिए ये बहुत अच्छा ज़रिया हो सकता है। हिजामा के ज़रिए अगर किसी के औलाद नहीं हो रही है तो ये एक वास्ता बन सकता है अल्लाह के हुक्म के साथ, और इंशाअल्लाह उनको औलाद होने का बड़ा इम्कान है। स्पेशली खुसूसन जब वो ठीक ठाक हैं, कोई पॉलीसिस्टिक ओवरी सिंड्रोम नहीं है या उनकी जो स्पर्म मोटिलिटी है वो लो नहीं हो, तो ठीक ठाक आदमी हो लेकिन औलाद नहीं हो रही है तो हिजामा काफ़ी फ़ायदेमंद साबित हो सकती है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, हिजामा जो है जिस लोगों को माइग्रेन की तकलीफ़ होती हो, माइग्रेन, तो उनके लिए हिजामा बहुत ही मुफीद हो सकता है। बल्कि हम ये देखते हैं कि जिनको माइग्रेन होता है हर हफ्ते 2-3 मरतबा, पहली हिजामा अपॉइंटमेंट के बाद उनका माइग्रेन जो है वो सिर्फ 1 ही मरतबा महीने के अंदर होता है, और दूसरे सेशन के बाद इससे भी कम हो जाता है, और तीसरे के बाद ये भी होता है कि साल के अंदर उनको 1-2 मरतबा ही माइग्रेन हो। लेकिन ये माइग्रेन हेडेक के लिए मुफीद है। क्लस्टर जो हेडेक होते हैं उनके लिए मुश्किल है। इंशाल्लाह हम ब्रेक के लिए जा रहे हैं, आप हमारे साथ रखिएगा। इंशाल्लाह ब्रेक के बाद हम यही मौजू पर गुफ्तगू करेंगे। जज़ाकल्लाह।